Joe Biden turning into the Democratic Party's pariah. The president's sinking in the polls. He's being trashed by allies and the press. And now members of his own party don't want to be seen in public with the guy. I know how that feels. The president was in Ohio, but high-profile Democrats running for office in that state skipped the visit due to, quote, scheduling conflicts. Those Dems didn't miss much, however. Biden did his usual blathering about Putin and evil Republicans as he tried to spin his failures.
Previous administration lost more jobs in its watch than any administration since Herbert Hoover. What is the Republican platform going to this campaign? No, I'm in deadly earnest. I'm not trying to be political. Just a fact. We got a long way to go because of inflation, because of I call it the Putin tax increase. Putin because of gasoline. Republicans do nothing to obstruct our efforts to lower your gas taxes.
That's funny. Biden is continuing his slide into a toxic stew of mediocrity, and liberals just don't see a 79-year-old fossil as a fighter. One summing it up this way, quote, "He's missing the boat here. This is our time to dig in and be absolutely furious because these one-half measures are not working. He's got a real excitability problem." And then CNN sees more schedule conflicts in Biden's future.
I think we should get used to the term scheduling conflicts. Is that going to happen? I mean, Democrats say, Mr. President, please do these things. He does them, and they're not there to cheer him on.
Dana.
Now, so much there.
So much there. And that leads me to the question I keep bringing up. Is this a typical problem that a party has when they're in the White House? Or is this exponentially worse?
Oh, this is exponentially worse, and I think we're going to break some records here. Because he's losing his base, he's losing the progressives, he's losing the moderates, and he's really losing a lot of the youth vote. And I read something very interesting today. Obviously, there's some frustration from the left about the Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade, but they also think that President Biden hasn't fought enough, right? They want more fighting. But they also have started to do this. Immediately on the day of Roe v. Wade being announced, the Democrats started sending out fundraising appeals, and it really irritated them. Like, we worked hard to try to get you elected, and the first thing you do when a bad decision comes down is ask us for money. In addition, you have a columnist like Dana Milbank at the Washington Post saying, just give Biden a break. He's really done everything that you asked him to do. And in some ways, you think they have no one to blame but themselves, right? I think this downward spiral could lead to us seeing him not just in the mid-30s where he is now, but in the low 30s. And so they're looking at a disaster. And I would add one last thing. They want the president to be furious, but fury doesn't equal persuasion.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to actually achieve anything if you're mad. Right?
That makes sense. Okay. Yes.
Were you thinking of something else?
No.
Was I so
We're on the air, Greg.
Oh, no, I thought
straight ahead.
I thought you were going to say something after that, but then you just stopped. And that made me feel very awkward. So I'm going to go to you, Harold, because in the green room, you said, Greg, I don't think I've ever seen a Democratic president in such a sorry state in my life. And you must be, working out, Greg, which made me feel a little uncomfortable.
No, look, Dana's largely right about this. I would add this. Democrats who want to separate from the president running for public office, and Tim Ryan, who's an old friend and an old colleague. Look, I give candidates the benefit of the doubt. If he believes that campaigning on the part of the state is the right thing to help him win, you got to let him do that. But if you're Joe Biden, you know that these things are being said about you. You know that there's some concerns about you in the party. If you're going to go to Ohio or California, wherever, you got to have a reason for going other than trying to just defend things that people don't think are working. You got to come with, as Dana says sometimes, you got to come with a real event, a new policy, a new approach. Wouldn't it have been great to go to Ohio and talk about Intel and talk about a position change on energy? Would it be great to go to California and talk about a position change on crime and the kinds of things we're going to say to DAs across the country? If you do the same old things, my grandmother told me, you're going to get the same old results. And I just hope that the president realizes that campaigns are about the future. People want to know what you're going to do differently. And if Democrats remain in power What is it that everyday voters can expect differently in their lives? That's what I would be focused on if I were them. I do think it's hard to separate from the president, though, if he's in your own party and you're running for Senate or running for public office. So I think everybody's got to get together and figure out what is it that we want to project to the country, and how do we project that, not by defending the things that aren't working, but saying here's what we're going to do differently, and this is why it's going to work, and with the Democratic Senate and Congress, I can make it work. Short of that, it's hard.
It is hard when your party hates America, Harold.
Nobody. We don't hate America.
Judge, shouldn't Biden be freaking out? Because if the Democrats lose the House, it's going to be hearings 24/7, Hunter Biden hearings. I've already ordered the party platter. I mean,
well, it's not just the Hunter Biden hearings. I mean, they're going after everybody at this point. Look, to what Harold was just saying, I think Joe Biden went to Ohio. Didn't he talk about pension plans?
Yes.
And protecting the pension plans? People are worried about gas so that they can afford to go to work, so that they can afford to put food on the table. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to call people together to say, gee, let's figure out what to talk about here. And you know what he's doing, what I found so shocking? He kind of snuck it in there. Biden says, you know, all the grain that Putin is keeping from getting to market, what he's doing there is he's preemptively blaming Putin for the food shortage that we're going to have in this country. And he's like teeing it up so he can say, I told you it was coming, but you wanted democracy in the Ukraine. You wanted those higher gas prices because you believe in democracy. Look, the guy is a lot more than just a guy who is a political liability. He is a political embarrassment. He is a political embarrassment, which is why they don't want to show up with him. And I agree with Dana. I think that even though he's 36% now in terms of approval, it's going to go lower than that. And there isn't anything that this man is capable of doing. Every time he gets on a stage and he speaks, I don't believe what he's saying. And America doesn't believe it either.
Jesse, are the Republicans in danger of buying into the red wave so much so that they don't bother to do the work? They're just assuming that people are going to vote against the Democrats?
Well, that's why I don't say red wave. And they could coast and just say, I'm against everything that Joe Biden's doing and still do pretty well. But, you know, they'll have the debates and they'll do well in the states. The president has to be a good storyteller. And his story doesn't make any sense.
What about corn pop?
Those are good stories.
Yes.
But the political story he's selling, no one's buying, because you can't say Trump had a bad economy. The best economy in 50 years. He turned the economy off because of COVID. He can't blame Republicans for blocking his agenda. Democrats control everything in Washington. He can't say he's got a great economy. No one believes that. And then he can't say Putin price hike. Well, he's not doing anything to end the war, which would bring prices down. So when a president is clicking on all cylinders, his story is the same story as his party's story, as the same story is being told as the partners in the media. The Democrats aren't saying buy electric cars, Putin price hike. Not even CNN is buying into that garbage. Adam Schiff talks about January 6th. He doesn't talk about gas. That's when you know things are a problem. They have these calls with the White House and the Democratic Party that Democrats get on the phone with the White House and they're like, can you guys give us some better talking points? Because these talking points aren't working. And they're actually out in the streets selling this thing, so they know these things are garbage. Right now, everybody knows the reason Joe Biden got elected was because of COVID and Trump fatigue. He was never a talented politician. He got lucky. And now his luck has run out and he can't stand on his own, and people need to recognize that.
There you go. All right. Up next, liberal city crime outrage. Violent criminals set free while a man who fought for his life winds up in jail.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.